Hello everyone, this is Saurabh and welcome back to my channel. In this session, we are going to learn about nested if else and nested if conditions. So before I proceed, just a small request to subscribe my channel if you want to support and if you feel that the videos and all the tutorials I'm posting are helping you. So let's proceed. So what we're going to learn in this particular session. So as you all know, we are learning nested if and nested if else conditions. So basically these are conditional statements. So today we are going to learn about nested if, we are going to learn about nested if else and the combination of if and if else. They're pretty easy. So in my previous session we already saw the implementation, or we already learned about how to use if condition and how to use if else condition. Now what we're going to do is we're going to mix them. So like inside if we can have if else, or inside if else we can have if, and so on. So this is just a flow chart for you guys to get a high level overview about how exactly it works, how the execution works, and we will see the practical implementation so that your doubts will be clear. So as you know, in this flow chart, you all know that if else condition executes from top to bottom, right? So if condition is true, then it executes the if body. If the if condition is false, then it goes inside the nested if conditions if there is any, and then so on. So this is how the nested if works. We will see an example. We will actually write a program so that you will understand the actual implementation. Similarly the nested if else statement works. So in this if else condition, there will be if condition as well as else condition. So either it will execute if or it will execute else, and inside else we can add again another if else, or we can add if condition. So this is how it works. So just a high level example for you in terms of code, how exactly it will work. So let's say the green part which is highlighted here, in that condition will execute if the if condition is true, and inside that you can add another if else, right? So once the if condition is true, whatever is inside that if block, that is gonna execute. So you can have multiple if conditions, multiple if else inside it. Similarly inside else also you can add if condition, and so on. So you can do as much as combination as you want. So let's jump back to our Eclipse and let's see the practical usage. Okay, so in the previous class we already created this conditional statement class. So now I'm gonna create another class. So right click on our package, new class. So let's say nested if else. Okay, and we need a public, so I'll click on this and then finish. So we are creating a new class. This is a new class and it has a public method because we checked on that option. Now, so okay, before I start, I know most of you already know what is nested means. So just to make sure that everyone understands, we have different type of audience over here. So nested is nothing but one inside another. Okay, so as you see over here in this example, I have one main method inside class, right? So if I have multiple methods inside that class, and inside one method, if I'm calling another method, I can say it's a nested structure, right? One inside another. So now let's say inside this main method, we're gonna initialize a variable int num1 equal to, I'll give 10. We'll have another variable num2 equal to 20. That's it. Now, so first of all, comment, we'll learn nested if conditions. Okay, so in nested if condition, as you know, first we have syntax if. Inside this condition, open the braces, and this is how it's gonna work. So here inside this, we'll have to define what condition you want to check. So let's say I'll say num1 equal to num2. So here you can see, when I see num1 equal to num2, I see some error. And why so? So Java doesn't understand equal to like this, because this particular symbol or this particular assignment assigns the value from right to left. Here you can see when we declared a variable, we are actually assigning 10 to num1 variable. But here, how to check? Basically, we want to check num1 is equal to num2 or not. Just use 2 times equal to. Okay. So with this, the Java understands, okay, in this you don't want to assign, but you want to, check whether both of these integers are same or not. Whereas if I do like this, num1 equal to num2, this is not gonna check. This will assign the value of num2 to num1 from right to left, right? So there is a difference between this and this. So let's delete this. So this is the condition. Now if these numbers are true, then let's say I want to check one more thing. If let's have another variable here, I'll say string I'll say city equal to, I'll say Nagpur. This is my hometown basically, from where I belong to. So just assigning a string variable to Nagpur. Now here I want to check whether this particular city dot equal to. Now how to check string? So to check a string, you can't use like this, equal to Nagpur. This is not acceptable. This Java will not understand, or this is not the suggested way to do, because we have an inbuilt methods inside a string which we should be using. So go back to my previous tutorials where we discussed about them. So just do click and see equals. So we have equals and equals ignore case. So both of these, and what's the difference? I think from name you can understand. The equals consider the case sensitivity. Like if I give Nagpur in small, it will check the exact thing. And if I use equal ignore case, then even if Nagpur is in small or like this, a small case or uppercase, it's gonna compare. So here I'm comparing whether city equals to Nagpur, or let's say I'll give Pune instead. If then I wanna print. So Cisco control space, just shortcut to print. And here I'll say inside nested if condition. That's it. So now if you see here, we are using nested if condition. So first of all, I'm checking whether both of these numbers are true. If they are true, if they are equal, the condition is true, it will come inside this highlighted blue part. And then here I'm checking whether city is equal to Pune. If they are same, then print this, right? So we all know, as per the way we have assigned over here, this is not true. So the moment this is not true, it's not even gonna execute the inside if. It will directly come out and start executing this. So here we will print outside if statement, or I'll say outside nested if, right? So let's run this. So let me clear this console. Now we will run this. Save it, right click, run as Java application. See, it only printed one statement, which is outside nested if statement, right? Because it didn't even enter, because this condition is not true. Now let's say I'm changing the value of num2 from 20 to 10. Okay, oops, my bad. Now let's run this once again. So I can also run it from here. Okay, I'll just simply click this. Okay, what's wrong here? Is there anything right? Now there is some issue. Now you guys tell me what's the issue. Oh yeah, that's great. So okay, so here you can see, even if the condition is true, it didn't pass the inside if, right? That's why there is no print statement we can see, correct? So it directly came out and then it printed over here. So basically, if I have another print statement before this, so let's say here I'll say inside first if condition block. and then I'll say another print statement. So print statements are just basically to see whether my execution control entered inside that if block or not, right? So inside here I'll say second if condition block, right? So we have two if condition. Now let me run it once again. See, it entered the first if condition block, it printed this statement, but because the second condition is not true, right? Because we assigned city as Nagpur and it is checking whether it's Pune or not. And that's the reason it didn't enter the second if, and that's why it directly came out. Now, instead of this, if I change it over here as Pune, so CP is capital here and P is small. That doesn't matter because we are using a method equals ignore case. So it will ignore the case. And let's run this now. Now you can see inside, now you can see there are a lot of print statements inside first if condition block, which means it executed this one. Then it came to second if, and then it also printed inside is second if block, inside nested if condition, and then outside. So basically it printed all the print statements because all the conditions were true. So this is one way with which you can write the nested if. You can have multiple ifs. So inside this, if you want to check one more thing, right? So I can have inside if one more if. So I'll have like this, and then inside this I can have one more if, and so on. So now you'll ask me, Saurabh, why do we need this? Or what is the scenario where I'll understand I should be using nested if or nested if else? So let me tell you frankly, once you understand the problem, so while designing a solution for it, or while automating a scenario where you want to check multiple conditions and based on that you want to proceed, during such conditions you will be using this nested if or nested if else. So a very simple example, if the train, if there is a train status in front of you, and if you want to check a particular train number, so what we'll do is, if there is a table from top to bottom, you will check the first row and you will say, if my train number is this, then look for a status, right? If the train number is not matching, that doesn't make sense to check a status. Then next row, then next row, and similarly. So I'll give you more practical examples when we proceed to the end of this. Once we learn the nested if, nested conditional statements, I'll be taking a practical real-time example in an automation application, and we will write a code for it. Okay, so let me delete this. So this is how the nested if works. So now let's jump and see the nested if else. In a similar way, what I'll do over here is, so I'll just quickly put this if outside now. Okay, or else let me create another class for you guys. That will be better. So we'll create another class, nested if else 02 public void main finish. This is another public method, main method. Delete this. Now I'll simply copy this code for you so that we will do some changes in this code in order to see the nested if else scenario. Okay, so by this time I think you guys would have already understood how the nested if else condition would work, right? So let's take the numbers, assign it over here. Okay, now so let's say this is the first if condition, and we know for if else, along with if, we also have else block, and either it will execute if or it will execute else, right? Now inside else I'm pasting the if condition, this one, which initially we wrote inside if. So as I said, we can have any type of combination. Inside if you can write another if, inside if you can write if else, like this, and then here also I can write else, and so on. So you can do as much as combination you want, but let's try to understand systematically with one example, and then you can practice with multiple ways. So this is one if, which is this blue part, and then if this condition is not true, it will come and try to execute else. But inside else we added another if condition, right? So inside this if, let's say if I want one more if else, or inside if I can have another if. So let's say if make sure you do a proper code orientation. What I mean to say is, if you have nested if or if you have nested if else, make sure that the third person who is reading your code will understand it properly. Okay, so make sure you do a proper orientation. And how do we do that? So generally, when you write a nested if else, it will automatically give you, if your code is not properly structured, just select the part and click tab, so that or if you want to move to on your left, shift tab. So this is how you will try to give a proper tree structure, so that it is more readable. Now inside this if block, I'm adding another if. So let me say I'll create another let's take a boolean ABC equal to, or actually the boolean is not a good example because it will actually check and give you boolean int num3 equal to 300. I'm just taking any random examples. We'll see a practical implementation of this once we are done with this tutorial. Okay, so num3 equal to 300. So we are just checking it, or better than that, I'll say num3 is greater than greater than 200. If it is greater than 200, I'll say system.print.outln inside. So here inside if, then here we should say inside first else condition block, inside nested if condition, that is fine. Then inside I'll say third if condition block, right? And if I want else with this, else I'll say, and here we can also print another print statement which says num is greater than 200. So here I'll say num3 is greater than 200. Better to print this outside, sorry, after this, which makes sense, right? Okay, now else, if the number is not greater than 200, then what it will come and try to execute else block, right? So inside I'll say second else condition. So don't worry about this numbers, first if, second if, and so on. Just I want you guys to make sure you understand the execution sequence based on the different if else, nested if else conditions. Okay, so here I'll say is not or better than that, let's use less than. Okay, so here in this case, if you see, I have first if this condition is true, it will go inside and execute this if not, it will come to else, and inside else we have a lot of different nested if and if else as well. So let's try up one more. So inside if, I'll add another if. I know you guys, some of you might get confused by looking at this, but I'm sure once you start doing a practice, all these things are pretty easy, and all those things will make sense, whatever I'm talking right now. But the only thing is you will have to do a lot of practice. So here I'm saying num1 is greater than num3. So I'm just checking whether the first number is greater than num3, and if that's the case, I'm printing inside double quotes num1 is greater than num3. Okay, like this. Now let's print this statement, so that by looking at the console you should be able to understand first if condition block. Now look at the program once again. Before I execute, I want you guys to understand. So for the first if is checking certain condition, and if this is true, the controller will go inside this if and it will execute this highlighted blue part. It will not even execute any of these things in else, because we know in if else it executes either if or else block. Now if this condition is not true, then it will come to else, and then it will check another if condition, whether CT equal ignore cases Pune. If this is true, then it will go inside this particular highlighted blue part. If this condition is not true, it will not even execute anything, and it will come out, and it will go to line number 32. As of now, we don't have anything over here, and then it will come out of the block and it will print this, right? So what are the important things you should be considering, while designing your solution? So these are the important things I want you guys to make sure. Whenever you are writing nested if else, make sure you test all the conditions, test for true as well as false condition. Make sure your script execution is, sorry for the missing part, but it should cover all the combinations, all the combinations of, whether are you executing this part, are you executing this, testing this, and so on. So you will have to test your script with all the possible combination which you have included in your nested if else conditions. Okay, so let's run this right now. So we have assigned num1 as 10, num2 as 10, which both are equal. So this condition is true, it will come inside, print this 2, and then it will check for num3, which is not true. So it will come out and directly jump over line number 34, right? Let's see that. Okay, execution is done. See, nested inside first if condition, the second print statement, both of them are same, and then it directly came outside. It didn't even execute else part because the if condition was true, and then it printed outside nested if else statement. Right now, I'll change this to 300. Okay, now let's run this. Now see, inside first if else, so the first if condition is not true, I hope, right? Because num1 is not equal to num2, so it will come to else. Now after coming to else, it checked whether the city is Pune, which is in our case true. So it printed this line, then it printed this line, then it checked whether num3 is greater than 200. In our case, yes, it is. So that's why it printed inside third condition, and then num3 is greater than 200, and then it came outside, right? So this is how we tested two different scenarios. I know there are a lot of different possible combinations with which we can test. So just make sure whenever you are writing nested if else or nested if, or the combination of if and if else, you try to test all the possible combinations with which your execution can happen. Otherwise, there are some cases which may be hidden kind of things, and later on you'll figure out that there is some exception happening, or this condition is not covered, or something weird. So better to test all the possible combinations whenever you are using nested if else things. Okay, so I hope you guys understand this example, and we will see more practical examples when we actually start coding. I am planning for posting another playlist where we will cover different automation tools. So I'm gonna teach you only WebDriver, Selenium WebDriver, but I have also plans of covering a different automation tools like Oracle Oats, Oracle OpenScript. It's a very powerful automation tool, and most of the companies who are using enterprise applications, they use that. So stay tuned and subscribe to my channel, and click on the notification bell so that you will get notified whenever I'm posting a new video. Okay, thanks guys, thanks for your support, and thanks for all the emails I'm getting. I'm glad. Thank you.